with art classes for kids, and this is inspired by the artist Andre Kohn, who's a Russian painter, and we're going to learn a little bit more about him as we go, but I want to make sure you have everything you need. So you're going to need the oil pastels. You get watercolor paper, because this works great with oil pastels. You get a great texture, and you get a cardboard backing. You're also going to have your label for your name. You got cellophane and tape. You've got a pencil. You're gonna need a glue stick, and if you've never used this before, this is gonna be really fun to use. This is a blending stick. This is how we're gonna rub together our oil pastels so they look more like paint rather than crayons. So if you get everything like this that you need out, you're gonna be set.
Be sure to pause the video here and gather your supplies if you haven't already. Then unpause when you're ready to begin. Hi, now that you've gathered all your supplies, let me show you how to prepare your paper for the art project. Now, you'll get a piece of paper, usually white, depends on the project. This project we have a white paper. Now, what we're going to do is learn how to tape off and mask off the edges so that it looks like it has a fake frame. It'll look really clean. Here's an example of one of the projects. This one here, we have all this color, and it's kind of a little mixy and a little bit messy, which I like because that's the style we're trying to recreate. But now the edges are nice and clean because we taped them off and then we peeled the tape and it looks like this. Now, how do we tape the edges? Well, I always use the blue painter's tape because it's a low tack, meaning it's not very sticky. And it's great to use, but it's a little more expensive and not as common as tan masking tape. You might have this as an alternative, and if you do, you can use this, but you have to barely press it down because it's a lot stickier and it's harder to get off of your paper. Now, I'm going to take this tape and I'm going to line it up with the edge. I start pretty close to the corner, as close as I can, and then I go all the way to the other edge like this. And then I lightly rub it down. What I want to do is either cut it from the corner like this carefully without cutting the paper, or I'll show you on my next demonstration how to rip the tape. Now, I'm going to the next side and I'm going to overlap the last piece of tape I put on there and line it up with the edge. Then I'm going all the way to the other edge like that, and I rub it down. Now what I do is I hold my pointer finger, my index finger, and my thumb together and squeeze them, and then I hold the tape really close to where my other thumb is, and I rip away. And all of a sudden I get this perfect cut. It's not gonna work perfect maybe the first time. The more times you do it, the more you get that how to rip it. And also, it saves time later, but it takes a little practice to do that. Now here's something that goes wrong a lot of the time, is that maybe you put the tape down and it starts out really good, but when you get down to the other end, there's some white showing. Now, if this happens to you, just reposition it. Just peel it back off like this and position it, by pressing down and lining it up and making sure that white doesn't show. You can even press it halfway down and just keep pressing it as you go and lightly rub it. If it gets a little wrinkle in it, don't worry, as long as it's pressed down. Now, if you're on a table, a white table and a white paper, if you have a matching tabletop as your paper, it's hard to see the edges. Just grab something that's a different color. Like I got a piece of cardboard. If I put that there, I can really see my white edge good. And lastly, when you put it down, oh, one more thing. This, if you have it the other way where the tape is hanging out like that and it's not straight and you can see it from the back, you gotta correct that too. Otherwise, all your borders won't be the same, all your margins. So you can easily pull that tape off again and reposition it. Next, this is our last side. So I start out like this and I line it up. Now I can rip it, I can cut it, but what I don't want to do is tear it way over here and wrap the tape around it. Because if you do that on all four sides, it takes a lot of time to pick this tape off when it's in the back. And it's hard, sometimes it's under the other piece of tape. It's just kind of a mess and it takes a lot more time. So I would advise don't wrap it around. And then what I want to do is clean it up. I want my back to be without tape on it and my front to have 4 clean edges. And once I have that, I'm good to go and I'm ready to start making some cool art.
Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is take this name label and I'm going to get my name on it and today's date, because I always want to know when I did this art, and I always want to know because if I look back at it later, I'll know how old I was when I actually made it. Okay, so I've got that, set the pencil aside, and I'm going to take out my brown cardboard backing, and with it, the vertical direction, the tall way, I'm going to add this label to the back by adding a little bit of glue, putting that right there, and setting this glue stick aside, setting my board aside, and now all I need will be the watercolor paper, the oil pastels, which I'm gonna turn those here sideways. We won't need the tape and the cellophane till the end, but we will need the pencil. Oops, the pencil. Alrighty, now I want you to turn it vertically because then we can get a figure and an umbrella. It's gonna be a little tougher if we did it the horizontal way. So let's keep it the vertical way, and let me show you a few pictures of Andre Kohn's art, a few images. Now this is the image that inspired the work of art that we have in our kit, but he did many paintings of people in the rain. So we've got this one, we've got this lady where you see her walking away, we've got one with a man and a woman walking away, sharing an umbrella, and we've got a woman, looks like she's going shopping, she's got some bags. And all of these are in his style that's sort of a modern, more contemporary version of Impressionism. Now, Impressionism is a style that was really popular in the early 1900s, and it was where things didn't have to look like a photograph. They could be blurry. You could show things like light and the way that the colors looked to the viewer, maybe not the actual color they were. And also, you could make it look a little blurrier because maybe that's an effect you wanted to get. So we've got these, and we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna move stuff out of the way, and we're gonna keep this image here so you can see what we're working from. And we've got this, and now we're going to compose our composition. And, which is the layout of all the things that we're gonna color in later. So we're gonna start with the horizon line. That is the line where the earth meets the ground. And it's usually across, and this one, it's right about in the middle. So I'm gonna go to the middle, maybe a little higher than the middle. I'm going to go, let me see, I'm going to go right about here. So I'm making a line. Now I want you to write light, but I'm going to write dark so that you can see it on the camera easier. So I'm going there. I'm a little higher than halfway. I've got a little more space on the bottom than the top. Once you get that horizon line, then we're going to create an oval to represent the place where the umbrella is going to go. You can use your eraser to give you a guideline if you want. See how I leave little eraser crumbs? Then if I think my oval is big enough, then what I do is I draw on top of that really light, and then I rub off my eraser crumbs, and I don't have to redraw it 5 times before I get it to where I really like it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to divide it into different sections of the umbrella. I'm going to start with the vertical line, but I don't want that vertical line right in the middle. I'm gonna have it a little off, like the umbrella is tilted. So instead of all the lines intersecting, that means crisscrossing in the center, it's gonna be just a little left of the center. So I'm making a dot here. Now I'm going to make a vertical line that's slightly curved, like that. And now I'm going to make a horizontal line and a cross line, slightly curved, going through that center, like that. Don't worry if it's slightly off. There's no perfection to this. Now I'm going to make 2 more lines. I'm going to make like a crisscross, but I don't want my crisscross super flat. I want to slightly curve that line and slightly curve this line. Kind of like it's a ball. That's how I started out. But now in between each section of the umbrella, instead of going straight, I'm actually going to curve it in a little. On the sides, I'm going to keep curving it, except the top, I'm going to have it curve the opposite direction. And curve again, and curve again. And up here, I pretend like it goes out, like if it went way up here on the top of the tape. And then this one would be a little flatter because it's up on top. But we don't see that because we're going to let our scene crop off the top as it keeps going. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to erase my guidelines. Now, if I'm moving too fast, I know a lot of you have done my videos before, so you know this. But if it's your first time, if I'm going too fast, you push pause and you just hold the video there. You do the step that I just described, and then you push play as soon as you're ready to join me, and then you never get behind. And that's the beauty of the pre-recorded video tutorial. Okay, so we've got an umbrella. Now, if you want one section a little bigger, like I'm thinking, ooh, maybe I want this section bigger. So I'm gonna go like this. And I'm gonna go ahead and adjust because it's just pencil. And you can erase it. At this point, you can still make adjustments. So if I want that side bigger, I can curve that over to there. And the umbrella at the ends, sometimes some umbrellas have little points that stick out a little farther. So if you want those, that's an option, and then you can add that if you choose. Okay, so I've got this. My umbrella has a little dot in the middle where everything meets up.
Awesome.
And I've got my umbrella. Okay, now we're gonna do the bottom part, which is pretty symmetrical. So I'm gonna go straight down from the center and make a guideline. My guideline is really light because later I'll be erasing it. I'll make it dark enough that you can see it. Like that. Now, halfway between the top of that line and the bottom, somewhere in here, I'm going to make a line that's a little bit straight, but then I'm going to curve it up on the sides, like that. So it's kind of a curved line. And then that's going to be the bottom of the raincoat. Now we're going to have to put the coat on the person. So the person's the most narrow part of the raincoat, you know, like around the ribs, is going to be smaller than the bottom. So that part we're going to put pretty close to the horizon line. So this is that wide. Well, we can't have it that wide up here. We're going to bring it in a little more, maybe here and here. And I'm going to come down a little bit and go all the way up to the umbrella. And then I'm going to bring my coat out kind of like a skirt to my coat. And once I get that, I'm going to erase the lines that were on my coat. And there's my coat. Now this person's kind of thin. If you want a heavier person, you can make that part wider. That's up to you. You decide the shape of your person. Next, we're going to add the arms. Well, this person's holding an umbrella. So you can't hold an umbrella with your arm down. You've got to bend your elbow to hold it up. So we're going to have an arm where we only see from the elbow up and the hand is hidden under the umbrella. So that I'm going to put on my right side just like this. And how I'm going to do it is I'm going to make a V somewhere higher than the waist. And then that V is the elbow down here, and it's going to go up and maybe up like that. So once again, I made a V, and then I went up like that. Now, if you want your jacket to be wider, you can always make it wider. If you don't want your V so pointy, if you don't want your elbow so pointy, curve it up a little bit like that. And now we're going to draw the arm that's down. The arm that's down looks like it's in a pocket. So we're going to put a pocket over here and bring this down. So I've got a pocket on this side with a hand in it, but we only see maybe the fingers are in the pocket. We're only going to see from the knuckles to the wrist. So we're only going to see a little bit. We're just going to make a little shape like this. And then the rest is going to be the jacket. So I just put a little line across there. So if you zoom in, you can see a little shape going into the pocket and a line across it. And now we're going to make a sleeve. The elbow is probably at the same place as this elbow, but it's straight. So it's going to go from here to here, and then from here it's going to go in a little. And then I erase. Now if I want space between it to show this girl's kind of thin, you can just follow that line with another set of lines just like it, like that. And like I said, you can make this person, that thin or wide and just have a little space here maybe. Now, if you have it like a traditional trench coat, they have like double buttons across it. You can have that, you can have a belt with it. You decide how you want it to be. I'm going to go with, they kind of have like a collar like this. But then if they're closed, you don't see the collar. So I'm gonna leave the collar either open or closed, you decide. And then, okay, I'll leave this one open. And it's got kind of like a zigzag on each side. And then there's the side. Oops, let's bring this all the way over to this side. So I have enough room for 2 rows of buttons. So this is going to go to there. I've got 2 buttons here. I'm going to have 2 more. And then if I want a belt, I could have a belt here. The belts on these kind of jackets make a knot or a bow or something. So you could have like a square that makes like a knot with 2 pieces coming out. Or you can leave it plain like this. I'm just giving options because you might want to be a little different. Okay, and then this jacket would bunch up a little bit. And then maybe I'm gonna have a couple more buttons like that. And that's how you get the jacket on the figure. And I'm going to go around this sleeve so it looks like that hand's going in the pocket. Now these are really small details and they might not show up because we're using oil pastels which are thick. But if you'd like to add them in and give it a try, then go right ahead. Now we're going to have some rain boots. You can have small rain boots, short rain boots, or up to the knee, or even higher than the knee rain boots. These ones look like they're above the knee and you don't see that much leg. Now on my example here, I put the legs pretty much side by side. That's a lot more symmetrical, meaning like matching on both sides, or you can have one leg in front of the other, like this one. I'll teach you how to do one leg in front of the other, and then I'll show you this one. This one, you just split it in half and draw the same thing on the left as you do on the right, or you draw one in front and then the other one you only see partially. So I'll show you how to do that. This one I'm going to have a leg that comes out here, and then my boot's going to be high. So I'm going to take my boot down right here where this line is, and then when it gets to the bottom it kind of comes out and in. Could be a pointed boot, could be like that. So it's across, it sticks out farther than the leg. Now I could have another one. I'll draw this for you both times, right? I've got it here and then I'm doing the exact same thing on this side. And that's our easy solution. Or if you want one in front of the other, you just draw this one behind it a little. Like that. Okay? So that's up to you. Now, we've drawn pretty much everything that's going to be in our, final work of art. We just need to color it in with colored pencils and get a look and a texture. We need shadows and highlights, all the good stuff. Now look at it one more time. I think I could make my arm a little wider on this side. So I'm going to adjust that. I always take another look at it. Some people will even take a look like from far away and see if they think, you know, it could be adjusted and look better. I kind of think this umbrella could go down lower here. So I'm going to take my umbrella down lower here. So these are all things I can adjust afterwards to make it a really good, a really, you know, nice looking work of art. Okay, so we've got all this, and I've adjusted a few things, and now I'm ready to color. Okay, now you can use any color you want. You don't have to have a tan background and a red umbrella and a white jacket and dark pants and boots. But dark boots are smart because they get really muddy in the rain. But I'll do a different color jacket. I think I'll do a bluish jacket, and I think I'll do a yellow umbrella to be different because I'm feeling kind of yellow today. Okay, so I'm going to start with my umbrella, and I'm going to color the whole thing in with yellow. But you pick whatever color is your main color for your umbrella and grab that color and start filling in the entire umbrella. Now I use it on an angle. I usually don't color like this because I like to cover the surface pretty quick and pretty even.
Yellow!
Now what's another color that's similar to yellow but is a little darker? And I look through all mine. It could be orange. It could be this tan color. I might use a little tan and a little orange. So I'm going to take these two colors to add some shading. So you see each section has like, that's a lighter red than that red next to it. Because this artist, Andre Kohn, he's using paint. He's using oil paints, maybe even acrylic on occasion, and he's getting this look with texture. We're simulating a painter's painting, but with oil pastels, because I wanted you guys to get a chance to see that oil pastels can be treated almost like paint if you play around with them a little bit. Now I'm going to darken in one of my triangles a little at the bottom and go up. So I have it kind of yellow and tan. Then I'm going to add a little bit of orange into it. But towards the top of that section, I'm kind of leaving it lighter. Now I'm going to go to my next section here, and I'm going to go a little darker, but not throughout the whole thing. And I'm going, my lightest areas are going to be yellow. So now I'm going to take some orange and darken in some orange area. Now, you want to stay in the lines if you can, but you don't have to perfectly stay in the lines. Now, if you had, like, if you did a blue umbrella, then you were looking for some other shades of blue. If you did a green umbrella, you're looking for other shades of green. I just happen to be doing a yellow umbrella. If you were doing this one that was red, you would look for like some oranges and some dark reds or some browns. Okay, so back to coloring this in. Now, my darker color, this umbrella, you see when you squint your eyes, there's a lot of black on it right here. Well, we're gonna add some black, but not quite yet. First, we're gonna go around and add these two colors. So every one of my umbrella sections, I'm adding a little bit of orange to, but not completely, covering all the yellow, and a little bit of tan too. So I notice where these come together is a good spot for my darker color that I'm shading values with. Okay, so I've got it kind of like this. And now I've got some color in each one. Now I'm going to take my blending stick for the first time. Right here, and this blending stick, I'm going to rub it. And my goal is to get rid of all of those little white spots, which are the texture of the paper. So rather than rubbing the point down and flattening it, I use it on an angle. Now, while we're rubbing this in, let me just tell you, this artist, his name's Andre Kohn. He grew up in Russia, but now he lives in America, in Arizona, where he has an art gallery. And not only does he make art, he also sells his own art and sells art of other artists that he is, you know, a supporter of or a fan of. And he wants to share, you know, their art with the world too. Okay, so we've got that. Now we're going to add a little bit of black. So black is the darkest color. Don't press it very hard. We don't want it too dark. But what we're trying to do is get some darks in here. So I'm going to lightly go around my edges and up here near my pencil mark, and I'm going to blend in a little bit of dark in these bottom couple of sections, because at the bottom it gets more shade and less light. And maybe a little over in here, because the bottom half of the umbrella is going to get more shade than the top. And a little over here. Now I take that and I use my blending stick and I rub that in. You can rub it in a circle, you can rub it back and forth. That's all up to you. And you might just want to experiment with it a little bit so you can, see what it does. Okay, so there's my yellow umbrella. Now, these pencil marks of mine, I drew really dark so you could see those at home over the camera. But I'm going to darken in my little dot at the end of this, and I'm going to add a little bit of shading over those pencil marks so that they don't look so much like pencil marks. Okay. Now, if there's any area that I think, oh, I got a little dark in there, I can lighten it up with a little white. I can take this white and go, oh, I really want a highlight over here. Or I want this lighter in here. So you can experiment with the white. Plus, if you rub the white, you can also get out some of those texture marks too. Okay, so we've got our umbrella looking pretty good. Now, see, this is the thing with Impressionists, is that up close, it looks pretty messy, but from far away, it almost looks like a photograph. So, that's another thing that made people fascinated with the style of Impressionism. Now, what we're going to do next is do the jacket. And I said, I want to do a different color than white. You can do white. If you do white, start with white and then you add a little gray to it, or you add a little pink to it, or you just add a dirty blending stick and rub a little bit so that it isn't pure white. Now, I'm going to do blues. So I'm going to start with a light blue and I'm going to shade with this darker blue and this really dark blue. So the first thing I do is I lightly fill in the color of my jacket.
Blue.
Okay, so I've got this blue. Now I'm going to add some darker blue to right underneath where the umbrella leaves a shadow. So right up here, I've got a little bit of a shadow. I might want to outline this color. Okay, and now mix in with your blending stick. I had a little yellow on my blending stick from before, but that's okay. I think it gives it a cool color. Now right here, I'm going to go dark in here because inside the coat is kind of a shadow. And I'm going to add some darkness inside the elbow, in here, and then underneath the belt. And the buttons I'm going to make dark. Maybe where this goes in. So I've got a little bit more there. So now I'm going to rub that in. Now you've got to get enough oil pastel on it for it to want to blend in. Or, once again, you take the white and you put white on it. And just rubbing the white kind of rubs in those dots of texture. Alrighty, and then let's give this a little more dark blue to the belt color. So now I can just kind of add some dark little spots to it too. So now I've got it colored in. I've got a lot of oil pastel crumbs, so I'm just going to tap those out. Okay, so I think I'm looking pretty good. I'm going to color in the hand. I'm going to make it this peachish color. You don't see that much of it. And now what I'm going to do are going to be the boots, which I think I'll make brown. And then I'll blend that in a little bit. And add another color to it. I think I'll use this light brown and give it a little shine on the front. So pick a color that you want for your boots, then pick another color to add to it and mix into it. And now my pants, I'm gonna pretend like she has like, well, it could be a he, but I think it's a she. Some black leggings. And now I'll blend that in. Alrighty, so now I've got my umbrella, I've got my person, and I've got their clothes all colored in. I wanna go to the background, and I wanna do two different color schemes. One for the ground, and one for anything above the ground. There could be buildings back there, but they're kind of blurred out. So we're gonna make them look kind of blurred out. Now I've got all these colors to choose from. So I don't have to use tans and browns unless I really wanted to. I wanna use some dark colors so that my umbrella shows up more. So you choose what colors you want, but I want you to mix at least 3 colors for your background. So I haven't used anything in like the purples and pinks. So I'm going to mix purple and pink and red. These are going to be my background colors for all back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go for it, and I'm going to put some spots because it's going to be like whatever's back there is blurred out. It's not clear what it is. It's also raining. Rain makes things not as visible. So I'm starting with that, and I'm going with this. I put some of this, I overlap on the first color because then it mixes and it's really cool that way. And now I'm going to use red.
Red.
Now you don't want to have any space between your coloring in, marks, because you really want it nice and thick so that when you blend it with the blending sticks, it blends really smoothly. Takes a little bit of muscle. Okay, but now I need some lights. I'm going to grab some tan and then I'll add some white. So I'm going to add some light areas on top of all these. And I don't even know how I'm going to blending stick it. I'm just going to try to get those white dots out. And I'll do that over here. And now I will do white. Now, an Impressionist artist would be just kind of blotching on some paint and not doing it even, or smooth. Okay, now I think some of this I'll blend and some of it I'll leave kind of blotchy. And tapping out my crumbs. So far mine looks like this. Now I'm going to do the ground. The ground I'm going to do dark colors. So I think I'm going to do, Andre Kohn in his picture has light colors. Well, maybe I'll do dark at the top. I'll go lighter. Ooh, maybe I'll do green. Maybe she's walking through the grass. Okay, I'm gonna start with the bright green and add a couple more greens like this. And even this. Okay, so here I go.
Green.
Okay, I started with green. Now I'm going and having some more darker spots here. I don't want it all even. I want it to look like it's made up of all different colors just put together. And then I'll be doing another shade of green. Ooh, this one's really different. Whoops! Oh, I just broke that one. I was pressing so hard. Okay, and this one is even darker. I can even put this over a couple of colors. Okay, next with this, I'm going to blend it all up and then see if I want to add some more darks and some lights. So I mix it up. I don't even care if it gets a little bit of red in it. Now, if it's hard to blend, maybe it doesn't have enough oil pastel on it. So I'm going to add another color. I'm going to add the white. So I'm going to add white to all these lighter spots.
Looking good.
Now with those, I'm going to try to blend those again. Oh, I'm getting a nice mix. Now you got to put a little muscle into it. I think it's looking pretty good. Now I want it to look streaky like this does here. I'm sure he might have taken a palette knife and rubbed it, but if we make it look a little bit like this, it'll look like it's kind of blurry in the rain. So I take that dirty part of my blending stick and rub it back and forth. And then she might be near a puddle. So if she's near a puddle, we need a little bit of a ring around here, like an oval. Let's go with a darker color. And so I take that around and blend that in a little. I'm gonna blur this up a little more. Okay, now I'm gonna take a look at it and ask myself, do I think it looks done? If I do, make this a little shadier on one side. If I do, then I'm going to be almost ready to peel the tape off. I'm going to make it shaded more on the left. There we go. And I'm going to add a little shading onto the boot. It's blue. So now I kind of rub that in, blend that in. Okay, I think I like it better now. I'm going to have a little bit of this blue reflecting onto the yellow umbrella. So I'm just going to take what was green and blue and rub a little bit up on the umbrella.
Love it.
Alrighty, I kind of think I like it, but I want to make it a little darker where the sky meets the ground. So right in here, I'm going to make it a little bit scribbly and dark. Rub that in. And I feel like I'm liking it now. This is my umbrella, my girl on a rainy day. So I'm using a totally different color scheme because I want you to make it your own. But I've got it, you know, with a similar style, that blurry look. And I've got shading, I've got highlights, and I've got this pretty much symmetrical composition. Now what I'm going to do is peel the tape off carefully and mount it. Move all this stuff out of the way. And I go to one corner and I gently peel off the tape, but I try not to put my fingers that are kind of dirty onto the white area. Keep your hands in the middle or off the paper. You'll get these little ringlets like that. Just set those aside. Now I'm going to take these little ringlets and my backing board. I'm going to flip my backing board over and use these ringlets to make some tape loops. So I put one on each corner, and these are just going to hold my art onto my board, kind of temporarily, because I'm going to be wrapping this and the wrap will hold it all together. I line it up, rub it down without getting the white edges all dirty with pastels. There we go. And then you can see how my final drawing turned out. It looks a little bit like this. I can't wait to see how yours turned out. So if you want to share it with me, and I always reply to those who share it with me, then please snap a photo, post it on Instagram, and tag it with Art Classes for Kids, or you can directly email it to me at kim@artclassesforkids.com. Now, if it's your first time doing art with me, let me show you how we wrap the art. If not, just go right ahead and start wrapping. I take my roll of cellophane and take the rubber band off, and I only need one sheet. So I look for the end, I find the end. I've got 2 sheets in this, so I'm saving one for later. So I'm going to roll one back up once I get them apart here. Okay, I will roll one back up and set it aside. This big one, I'm going to turn this over on top, and once I set it down, I leave it there. I grab my tape and I start at those long ends, and I set a piece of tape down to hold that end down and pull tight on the other end, and then I just tape it down. Next, I go to the sides. Go to the center of the side, tape it down, and go back to the opposite side, tape it down. Now I've got these corners. I've got to hide that cellophane on the back. So I twist it, and once I've got it flat, I tape it down. Now this is big, so you might need 2 pieces of tape on every corner, or just one. You can kind of tuck it under and try that. And if you're only 5 and you want a little help, you might ask a big, an older sibling or your parents if they can help you wrap it up. Like that. And when it's all done, it's nice and protected, and nobody can spill on it now. Anyway, this is how we want you to have it until you decide you'd rather maybe even get it framed, but if not, you can always hang it up in your room or give it to somebody like this. So, I hope you enjoyed this project, and until I see you next, keep making cool art.